So I tried recording this initial video in 4K so you could see all of the fine details in the text and whatever, and it super didn't work out. So we're gonna try like this and hopefully this works. But hi, in this video I'm gonna be showing you my commission process, but I'm actually gonna show it to you in a way where you see kind of the range that comes with it, ranging from somebody knows exactly what they want and it goes very quickly to I had a lot of back and forth with them and it took forever. But neither one of these is wrong and neither one of these is bad. It just depends on how specific somebody is with their vision. But yeah, so I will go ahead and get into these. So with this first one, is somebody wanted me to draw a character from Girls Frontline, which is a mobile game. They said, hey, can you draw this character in a very dynamic pose, holding this kind of weapon, and I want the weapon drawn very accurately. Because they were super specific about it, that kind of made it easy for me. The only thing I really needed to venture into was just the actual thumbnailing. So I made a couple of poses just for what I would consider dynamic. I put a little star by the ones that I thought would be like my favorite ones, and I usually let people know with my favorite ones I can usually do more with those than with other ones because I have a more clear vision of how the drawing is gonna go. Sorry, got the hiccups. But you're going to see here, these are all pretty rough, so it's not extremely time consuming on my end. I can make a decent amount of these and it's not going to take me forever, so it doesn't add a very long time to the creation process. And then here at the bottom, I'll usually just let them know some details about the drawing. Sometimes it's, hey, mix and match if you want, or if this isn't quite what you're after, just let me know. It wasn't in this case. They did kind of want to mix and match. They're like, hey, can you take a pose from this one but put in the camera angle of this one? So I think that was the case for this one in particular. But I said, sure. I drew this rough little thumbnail and send that over to them. And this was finally along the line of what they wanted. And they said, that's cool. That's great. Exactly like that. So I had this base and then I literally just made the detailed version. But you see, at this point, I already know what I'm going to do with the composition. It doesn't take a long time to get there, so I feel like it's more time efficient. Instead of going back and forth and you draw 6 fully detailed drawings and you're like, why would I do this? So that means that I can put all of like my, creative energy into this one. So I literally took this, just made it pretty, and then I sent this over and said, hey, the final drawing will look something kind of like this, just, with coloring. The background is going to be this. Does this like kind of match what you had in mind? And they said, yeah. At this point, it's just, oh, if you want any minor revisions or anything like that, just let me know. And then I finally got into the final drawing. So I know that there are a lot of steps in between when I actually work on the final thing and all of this. So I know that I'm creating a lot of extra work for myself. But I feel like this actually saves me time in the long run because you can communicate with the person who wanted to commission you more effectively. So they feel like they're heard and actually getting what they want, which is, I know, crazy. But it actually saves time on my end because I don't make this. And then they're like, hey, actually, I wanted this character doing a backflip. And they're actually Spider-Man. And I'm like, oh, I spent several hours working on this. Thanks, man. So I feel like if you start small with these and then get into this, it prevents a lot of headaches over here. Because usually at this point, if there are any revisions, they are minor instead of major, which is pretty nice. So this is about as smooth as the commission workflow can go. A+ credit for user friendliness for this person. And then here with this one has a little bit more of a back and forth. So somebody wanted me to draw their character, their OC, but they said, draw them in your style, kind of take what I have and turn it into your vision, So this one gives me a little bit more of a creative liberty in saying, this is what the character looks like, but, do your own thing. So, of course, here I am making my silly little thumbnails because I'm a silly little man. But, of course, these are not final. Just let me know. And I usually come up with enough that I feel like they have options, but not so many that it's going to actually make their life harder because you don't want to give them 10,000 different options, especially if they're not paying you to. But their character had 2 different hair designs, one with the hair up, one with the hair down. So I made a couple of different variations. And, I'm, again, saying just, hey, you can mix and match. Once they had actually picked a composition, in this case they went with number 1, that's when I made these. So I made a more detailed pass, but I actually made 3 of them. I don't always do this. It's literally just as needed. Like if I have extra ideas, I'll run it by them. If I have something else in mind, then case to case. But I have this character here. You see the main difference is just like in the torso, like I changed things up a little bit. I added a little bit of the snowflake. So that wasn't in the original design, but they did say it was an ice themed character. I was like, I can ice themed. They also had like a little waistcoat on one of them. And I was wondering if they wanted to include that or not. So I'm taking the references that they sent me and kind of incorporating them and saying like, in this version, I included it. In this other version, I don't. What do you want me to do? And of course, mix and match if you want. They were happy with the first one, just straight up. And I was like, cool. But the only revision they had was just bring this in a little bit so it hugs the form. So I was like, cool. But better to get the revisions done here than way later. So this is what we settled on. In the description through the email, they said that their sword was like an ice blade, but I took that to understand it as they have this sword. The sword has ice attached to it. No, they meant that the blade was literally made of ice. So I was like, oh, okay. So the reason you're seeing this here twice is because this one includes the revision. So it's like, I turned the blade from semi-cold to super duper very cold. And it has like the little ice shards in it. So it took 2 back and forths, 2 revisions, and saying, hey, can you make the blade made out of ice? And it was like, sure, my guy, got my gradient maps and changed this to look really cold. Then they said, can you have little ice particles like coming down from the sword so it looks like it's made of ice? I was like, yeah. So you'll see there were actually 2 revisions here, but they were very minor. It's literally just on the sword. I didn't need to change anything crazy. So that's why I like this workflow. It is very, it's very labor intensive at the beginning, but you get an idea of what people want. And, it sucks a whole lot less than saying, hey, actually, I want a drawing like this one over here. And I redo the whole thing. But yeah, so that's one where I have a little bit more creative freedom. Then in this one, I actually have a lot more creative freedom. This person was a writer. They wanted me to do like a pinup style art of Momo from My Hero Academia, aged up, alternate universe, like the darkest timeline. If you've ever seen Dragon Ball, this is kind of like the Trunks timeline. But over here, I come up with an alternate design for the character. So you see, I took inspiration from the original, made a bunch of different versions, and there's small variations in between each one of these. Of course, I'm still saying, yeah, you can mix and match cape or no cape. And then here, just small little text description next to the little tag and saying like, hey, this is what you're looking at. These are the main differences. I'm pretty sure that they can look, but sometimes people aren't an artist and they won't spot the differences as obviously as I will. So I have little footnotes. And again, of course, like I said, they can mix and match. So I got the design of the character down. Of course, I put my 2 favorites over here. So I said, hey, I give you a lot of options, but these are the ones that I like if you kind of hit a wall. And they said, great, we'll go with the first one. So now that I actually have the design for the character, it's the composition. Over here with the actual composition itself, I come up with a couple of different variations. Here I have the like little descriptions on what they are too, because sometimes these are really rough and somebody who's not an artist is going to look at these and say, what the hell is going on, dude? So I'll usually try to explain like a little back of the book summary what's going on, and I'll have them pick one. So now that I got that out of the way, I did send the rough pose and kind of just some rough flat coloring. So in saying the background will look like this, the coloring will be like this, whatever, but I'll make it cool. And then I pretty much gave them the option of, do you want hamburger or hot dog for the composition? I don't always do this, but I was literally looking at the drawings myself and trying to decide which one I liked more and saying, yeah, I like this one or I like this one. And I was literally like, man, I don't know. You gotta pick. So I came up with 2 different final version whatevers on this one. They ended up deciding on the first one, but I actually pulled a little sneaky on them and still made both anyway. It wasn't too much work on my end. I just needed to crop the drawing differently and draw a little bit farther out. I don't usually do this. I'm not going to be super nice and give people freebies, but this person in particular, I have worked with them for a couple of commissions. So sometimes it is just nice to be nice to your repeat customers. It is cool when, you work with somebody and they are willing to come back because they had a good experience with you, instead of just saying, oh yeah, no, that was horrible, that person sucked, I did, they didn't make what I wanted at all, it was terrible, they were bad, they called me names, they insulted me, I'm never going back. So this is just a nice little thing of saying, like, hey, when you get along with your commissioners and you do a good job, they might come back. But yeah, so you'll see this one has a great deal of extra steps in it, but this is because they literally wanted kind of my input on it. They wanted the creativity that you have as an artist sometimes, instead of just make a pretty picture. Over here on this last one, this is the most labor intensive one, and the reason for that is because I was working with a writer. They wanted me to design a cover for a book of theirs. Because they are a writer and not an artist, they had no visual references. I asked them if they could provide them, but they said literally just the text descriptions were going to be as good as it was going to get. And I said, I bet, dude. So I needed to come up with the design for the characters themselves. Like I said, this is a book. There were no visual references, so this is me going into like character design town, which, by the way, if you need to do this much extra work for somebody, charge them because you are putting in the extra work. Here, I literally just copied and pasted the descriptions they had for the characters, making sure not to miss things. But the basic prompt was one character is like the blonde, athletic, sportsy one. The other character is like the chef girl character who's like really sweet. Here, I came up with a couple of different designs, different hairstyles, different tops, different pants, between all of them. And then, of course, I'm just saying you can mix and match. They had a dragon tattoo over here, which is important, so I gave them a couple of different flavors on that. Of course, here's more designs for the other character, and I was just saying thing not included in the concept art because, this is just rough concepts. Here I write down the differences, so I'm kind of putting my character design work and my graphic designer skills to work at the same time. I don't need to make these look pretty because I actually never thought I was going to make a video for it, but it is just funny the way that works out. So I came up with a couple of different variations, color coded them, red for this character, blue for that character, just so they don't get mixed up. And this is kind of what I settled on. After a little bit of back and forth, they said, I like this from this thing and this from that thing, and cool. So here I have their final design. Then I get into the layouts. I actually didn't make as many compositional layouts for this one because they did write out what they wanted to cover to be, and it was pretty straightforward. They actually only really needed one, but I still came up with a few more just, for the illusion of free will. Here, I came up with a couple of different options for them to pick from for the cover layout. Most of the differences are actually in her chef top thing. So they said they wanted red with yellow lines, but I kind of wanted to see how they wanted to incorporate that. So this one, they're in it, this one's there to the side, and then this one, they're just like little thin stripes. And it's literally just pick and choose from there. They ended up deciding on that, and then I got to the final drawing. So, by the time that I had gotten here, I already knew the design of the characters. I already knew the poses. I knew what kind of personalities they were going to have. So, yeah, I feel like this would have been a drawing where I would have had a lot of back and forth, and we would have kept deciding and saying, that's right, that's not right, this isn't right, that's right, this isn't right. I like this, but I don't like that. So I feel like I avoided a lot of headaches on this one because literally by the time I got to this, there were no revisions for the final one because there had been so much leading up to it at the front. So, I got my little character design sessions, which, trust me, if you're doing this much extra work for somebody, charge them or have them include references. But here I come up with the character designs, then the layout. So you'll see if it wasn't for this being a text prompt, I would have literally just cut those first two steps out entirely. And then this is the workflow for my other thing. But I mean, I like how it turned out. I think it was really fun. I promise I'm not salty about the lack of this. It's just this is the most time consuming one. But yeah, I hope that this workflow is helpful to you because it literally shows you 4 different ones depending and ranging from, yes, I know exactly what I want. I'm giving you a little bit of creative freedom. No, I actually want your creative freedom to, yo, dude, yo, what's up, my home skillet? I'm a writer and I need you to be carrying this project hard for the visuals. And I'm like, I got you, fam. But the writing was very specific. So in a way, I did have specific references, just not specific visual references. But yeah, that's literally the variety of all of them. And I hope that me showing these to you helped out, whether you're an artist who's trying to learn how to do commissions and work with other people for yourself if you're just starting out, or if you're somebody who's thinking of commissioning an artist, maybe you seeing this will kind of give you an idea of their workflow. So when they ask for references, include them. But yeah, hopefully this was useful and informative, and if it wasn't either of those, then hopefully it was entertaining. But yep, I will see you guys later. This is a fun little time to tell you that yeah, my commissions are open. You know what my workflow is like, and yes, I do this for all of them. But yep, I will see you guys later. Bye.